Few vampires feel as safe on the dangerous streets of their city as those who have mastered the discipline of fortitude. One of the most universally coveted disciplines, fortitude protects against not just physical assaults, but assaults on the mind and the blood. In a violent and dangerous world, fortitude is a necessary tool to approach a semblance of immortality. Greetings, kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to our world of darkness. And tonight we're going to be going over some of Mind's Eye Theater's Vampire the Masquerade Laws of the Night, specifically the disciplines. This is a level by level, where we will be going through each individual level of a discipline power that can be found for vampires in World of Darkness games, specifically for live action roleplay, for LARP. Now, these can get a little bit confusing and long-winded. Therefore, I have provided time codes in the description below so that you can fast track to the information you need for each individual discipline. With that, let's go ahead and get started with the general information that you all need for using disciplines using the Laws of the Night system. When a mortal is embraced and becomes a vampire, they have innate supernatural powers called disciplines. When a vampire feeds on human blood, they learn to refine and temper the resonance of the victims to unlock terrifying and devastating powers of the blood. These powers range from supernatural strength, speed, and resiliency to the ability to subjugate the minds or cloud the perception of enemies and others. Disciplines are rated on a scale from 1 to 5 dots. After character creation, a character must purchase additional dots with XP. Each unique discipline has the following general characteristics. Type. Are the discipline powers mental, social, or physical? Masquerade risk. How dangerous to the masquerade is using a majority of this discipline's powers? Blood resonance. What type of blood must be consumed to learn this discipline? Each power within a discipline has a cost, usually a simple or standard action, and or a number of required rouse checks. Each discipline power also has a listed duration. Learning disciplines. Learning a dot from an in-clan discipline requires a downtime action from the vampire, as they find and feed upon a mortal with the correct blood resonance of that discipline. If a vampire seeks to learn a discipline that's not an in-clan, she must drink 1 rouse check's worth of blood from a vampire who possesses that discipline, in or out of clan at any level. She must then spend a downtime action feeding upon a mortal with the correct blood resonance for that discipline. This process must be repeated each time she wishes to learn a dot of an out-of-clan discipline. Learning Oblivion or Blood Sorcery as an out-of-clan discipline is the exception to that rule. In addition to those requirements, the learning vampire must be willingly taught by a vampire who possesses Oblivion or Blood Sorcery as an in-clan discipline. This requires a downtime action to be spent by both the learner and the instructor. Thin blood vampires must possess the vampiric discipline merit prior to learning 1 selected discipline. Selecting powers. Every time a character gains a dot in a discipline, they must choose 1 power from that discipline list. The power chosen must be equal to or less than the new level of dots she possesses in that discipline. Note that choosing a lower level power does not provide a discount on the discipline dot purchase. For example, a Brujah who started the game without any potence wants to learn both Prowess and Soaring Leap from Potence. They purchase Soaring Leap with their first dots for 5 XP, and Prowess with their second dots for 10 XP, requiring a total of 15 XP. Amalgams. Amalgam powers are special powers that require proficiency in more than one discipline. They may be selected instead of standard discipline powers when you purchase a new discipline dot. In order to select an amalgam power, you must also possess the listed number of dots in the prerequisite discipline. Amalgam powers count as belonging to both disciplines for all purposes. Also, as a side note, any amalgam can be purchased by any clan. Unless otherwise stated, the only prerequisite for purchasing an amalgam is having the number of dots in the secondary discipline listed and the experience points to purchase it. Using disciplines. The following rules apply to all discipline use, unless otherwise stated. A discipline power can be used on the same target on subsequent turns, even if the first attempt failed. Multiple instances of the same discipline power do not stack. If a power has a duration and is used multiple times on the same target, the duration resets and begins again, instead of having more time added. Any discipline that has an action cost to activate lasts for 1 hour. A character must be able to see a target clearly to use the power on that target. Line of sight can be enhanced by sensory-based powers, such as heightened senses, but may not be enhanced by technological assistance, such as video cameras. To establish line of sight, the target must be observed with the vampire's own senses. Any power can be ended if the user spends a simple action. Discipline mechanics are written from the point of view of a vampire user. However, if legally possessed by another creature type, consider vampire-specific terms to apply to that user. Partially supernatural creatures, such as ghouls, are considered mortal. If a power has a greater effect on mortals, it will also have a greater effect on ghouls. Other rules and limitations specific to a discipline are listed in the characteristics section of each discipline. A number of discipline powers refer to situational modifiers such as relenting, wound penalties, conditions, and line of sight. For more information and explanation for those terms, see Core Rules Systems on page 83 of Laws of the Night. Combat turn duration. Unless otherwise stated, a power that lasts for multiple turns in combat expires on the same initiative count as initiated, regardless of whether the character who initiated the power is still alive or if their initiative has changed. Gaze and focus. Some disciplines require the target to focus their attention on the user of the power. These powers do not require eye contact, but do require having the attention of the individual you wish to control. Individuals may attempt to find ways to avoid making eye contact, but the powers of the blood are not so easily thwarted. Gaze and focus only requires having the attention of the individual you wish to target. Anyone whose attention is on you is a viable target for powers that require gaze and focus. This includes the following individuals: those who are looking into your eyes, those holding an in-person conversation, not over the phone or video chat, with you, those who have physically attacked you or used a mental or social power on you, regardless of the success of such attacks. Gaze and focus gained this way lasts for the remainder of the scene or combat scenario. It is possible for a single person to focus on 2 or more individuals. If supernatural powers are used to make you pay attention to 2 characters at the same time, you might glance back and forth between the 2, or move to a place where you can see both simultaneously. You are also capable of holding the gaze and focus of multiple parties. Transformative powers. Any power that significantly alters a character's physical shape is considered a transformative power. Each of these powers explicitly states that it is transformative. Unless otherwise stated, transformative powers have the following characteristics. Transformative powers last until dawn, or until the user sleeps, is subject to the helpless condition, falls unconscious, or falls into torpor. The user may also spend a simple action to end the transformation early. A character may only use and benefit from one transformative power at a time. If a character attempts to use a transformative power while already being affected by another, the first ends immediately, and the second activates. Transformative powers do not prevent you from using non-transformative powers as long as your current form can reasonably fulfill the requirements of a non-transformative power. When you activate a transformative power, clothing and small personal items disappear. These return when you regain your normal form. A character cannot use physical weapons, guns, swords, etc., while transformed. Conditions are not resolved, nor are wounds and injuries mended or altered when a character utilizes a transformative power. A character with one eye has one fewer eyes in all forms. Obscured characters and out-of-body powers. Some powers allow you to separate your consciousness or senses from your physical body, or to hide your physical form. When extending your consciousness or senses beyond the limits of your physical body, you may do so only as far as the boundaries of your game, or 75 miles, whichever is lower. Whenever you are obscured from mundane observation, or separating your consciousness or senses from your body, hold a closed fist against your shoulder. This signifies you, the player, are not physically present as your character. This gesture should not be used as justification for other players to attempt to detect your presence with supernatural powers. Your storyteller should also be alerted to the location of your actual physical form. If you are able to perceive multiple locations at once, use an assisting storyteller to observe and report from one location. You may also rely on other characters in the scene to relay what happened while you chose to concentrate on one location. Use of such powers does not mean that the other players must pause roleplay while you move back and forth between multiple scenes. Mortals. Some powers have differing effects when targeting mortals. Ghouls and thin-blood vampires without the vampiric resiliency merit are considered mortals for the purpose of discipline effects against them. Fully supernatural creatures such as changelings, mage, and werewolves are not considered mortals. I understand that there is a lot of information to take into that, and what I've stated there are the verbatim, word for word, taken from the book, examples of the general rules for utilizing disciplines when playing in a LARP setting. I hope that was helpful for you, but let's go ahead and move on to the discipline in question. So we are on Fortitude. Fortitude is an interesting discipline, and it's changed a lot in this edition. It literally used to be how rugged you were and how much damage you could take and all that stuff, and now it has a lot to do with the mind as well, not being able to be easily dominated, not being able to fall under the sway of social manipulations, but Mind's Eye Theater has actually taken it a little bit further, where it protects your blood specifically as well, which is a very, very interesting use of this power. Now, the clans that are most associated with practicing this power are the Gangrel, the Hecata, the Salubri, and the Ventru. All of them use it in their own ways. We're going to see some very fun amalgams as we go through the disciplines, both Fortitude and other disciplines where Fortitude comes into play. But Fortitude, by its very nature, is a physical discipline. That is the type of discipline that it is. It is a physical power. The Masquerade threat level for Fortitude is medium to high. Special effects, when caught on camera, surges of adrenaline, and the unreliability of witnesses' accounts can all help explain away surviving a hail of bullets or an alleyway beatdown. Depending on the severity of the attack, walking away from it seemingly unharmed is a huge risk to the Masquerade. The blood resonance associated with Fortitude is melancholic. Extreme athletes, marathon runners, military special forces, veterans of war, and S&M enthusiasts are all sources of melancholic blood. For those of you who are trying to learn this power and have the option. But let's go ahead and get into the powers and see exactly what Fortitude can do for you in the Mind's Eye Theater setting. Level 1, Resiliency. Your ribcage and the muscles around your heart are truly resilient. Wooden stakes have a difficult time reaching your heart, making you less susceptible to having your chest cavity pierced. So this is already stepping outside of the norms of what we consider Fortitude. You're not just getting an extra health level or anything. This stops you from being able to be staked as easily. The cost for this power is free. The system states, once purchased, this power is always active. Characters who attempt to stake you must win one additional test. In addition, you are immune to the effects of extreme cold. The duration, passive. This tells you that not only are you harder to stake, but you're just bound better. This is just a great power all around. I love the fact that it even says that you are immune to the effects of extreme cold. That is a very, very fun little, that's a fun little detail to put in there. Level 1, Toughness. Your body is used to taking a beating and has adjusted accordingly. Your skin is just a bit thicker, and the pain no longer bothers you. So now we're getting into what sounds like a regular Fortitude classically from earlier editions. The cost for Toughness is free, and the system states, when purchased, you gain one additional health level. In addition, you ignore all wound penalties. The duration is passive. I like the idea of Toughness because it does just give you that little extra health level. That can help you. It doesn't say by level or anything. It says you gain one additional health level. I do want to point that out because some people have already come up to me with the purchase and believe that it meant you get a additional health level per level of Fortitude, and that is not how this works here. You get one additional health level, and you get to ignore all wound penalties. That's not too damn shabby. Level 2, Coagulate. Blood is life to a vampire, and you are able to hold onto yours even when someone is trying to take it from you. This one is interesting. I always get caught off guard when I see this one, truthfully. Coagulate costs a single rouse check, and the system states, spend a simple action and make one rouse check to thicken the viscosity of your blood. The next time that you are subject to a discipline attack that increases your hunger, reduce the hunger increase by 1. If this reduces your hunger increase to 0, and the power that caused your hunger increase allowed your enemy to slake, they are no longer able to slake. Otherwise, they slake the normal amount. For example, if you are targeted by brutal feed, which causes your hunger to increase by 1, Coagulate would reduce your hunger increase to 0. And the user of brutal feed would not slake 1 hunger. However, you would still take damage from the brutal feed. The duration is 10 minutes. So this is absolutely something that you would want to utilize during a combat situation, but I like the idea that it basically stops you from gaining hunger based on other people's powers because you've made your blood more thick. I really like that. It's harder for them to get your blood out of you. Level 2, Enduring Beasts. Your studies in animals have helped you to learn to share your durability with your pack. And you can will your blood to rejuvenate your four-legged allies. Here we are at Fortitude's first mentioned amalgam. You need to have Animalism level 1 to have this power, and it costs a single rouse check to use. The system states, by spending a simple action and rousing the blood, you may target a number of animals under your control equal to twice your dots of the Animalkin skill. Each target gains 1 additional health level. When this power expires, remove a health level that does not have damage assigned to it. If there are no undamaged health levels to remove, the animal dies. If the animal has no empty health levels, after removing the bonus health levels, the animal falls unconscious. An animal may only benefit from 1 instance of this power, and the duration is 1 scene. So, what this is basically telling you is that twice your dots of Animalkin, which means if you have maxed out Animalkin, you can do this with 10 animals. It gives all those animals 1 additional health level. If they lose all those health levels in a combat, they die. If the scene is over and they drop down to their natural and it kind of overtakes them, they fall unconscious. This could very well be useful, especially with the concept of having 10 ghouled animals fighting by your side. That could be very, very, very helpful. And like, I read these and it's just putting ideas in my mind about characters that I want to make. You don't really see much animal use that much, and it's really kind of sad. I don't know, maybe with this kind of power and with the explanation that I'm putting out there, we'll see more use of it. Level 2, Unswayable Mind. Mental acuity is just as important as physical strength, and your ability to keep your concentration is unmatched. Even if the world turned upside down, you could continue unfazed. Unswayable Mind is interesting. I like it. It very much works the same way as like Resiliency and stuff, but it has more of your mental faculties in mind. The cost for Unswayable Mind is free. The system states once you purchase this power, it is always active. You are immune to the distracted condition. And the duration is passive because it's always active. That can help out a lot because a lot of the disciplines that are out there, they put conditions on you. And the distracted condition is not something that you want to fall prey to. So Unswayable Mind definitely helps out with a lot of things when it comes to not becoming distracted. Level 2, Valeren. With your keen senses from Auspex and a sheer sense of will, you've learned to rouse your blood into healing another. We are now reaching the very first level associated with Clan Salubri's old discipline, Obeah. This power has been brought in as a very interesting set of amalgams instead of having its own thing, much like all the other clan-specific disciplines, except for Protean, which has reached a new level of spread. We'll just put it that way. But this is definitely something that was originally considered Salubri first. Healer Salubri specifically, which is actually funny because they named it Valeren, which was the name of the discipline that belonged to Warrior Salubri, not healers. But whatever they decided to do, it works. I like the power. Things have changed, and people either need to accept it or use a different system. And there's no problem with just sticking with a system that you like. Valeren is an Auspex amalgam, which means that the only clans that should be able to just take this naturally would be clans that have both Auspex and Fortitude. And in my mind, that tells me the Salubri and the Hecata have the ability to do this. And a Hecata with the ability to heal just kind of gives me the whole master of life and death situation thing going on there. So this is an amalgam with Auspex level 1. So you have to have Auspex level 1 to be able to buy Valeren. The cost is 1 rouse check, and the challenge pool is intelligence plus medicine versus a difficulty of 2. So it's just a straight out difficulty. I like that very much. It's not against anything specific to the target that you're using it on. The system states, make a rouse check and spend a standard action touching the target, which may require a challenge if the target is unwilling. You may heal 1 point of normal damage for every 2 dots of medicine you have, rounded up. Alternatively, if you have 3 dots of medicine or more, you may heal 1 point of aggravated damage instead. A target may benefit from Valeren once per night. You may not target yourself with this power, and each use of this power in a night beyond the first costs a willpower. The duration is passive. So you can heal people in different ways with this power. You can heal 1 point of normal damage for every 2 points of medicine you have, which basically means that you can heal up to 2 points of superficial damage. Or if you have 3 dots in medicine or more, you could decide to heal aggravated instead. It's pretty interesting that it has to do with how much medicine you have. I also am stressing the fact that if you use this on more than one person in a night, it does start to cost willpower because it takes a lot out of you. This is a fun power for anyone to have, but I like the idea of the Salubri just like popping up and going, by the way, I can do this. It's I don't know, it's just fun to see them pop up from time to time. Level 3, Roots of the Mountain. With this power, you cannot be knocked down, and you rarely need to take even a single step backwards to catch your footing. Roots of the Mountain kind of reminds me of the old King of the Hill combo discipline that used to be found in the 2nd edition revised Anarch book. The cost is free. The system states, once purchased this power, it is always active. You are immune to the staggered condition. Once a turn, when you are the subject of the prone condition, you may choose to ignore it by making a rouse check. The duration of this power is passive. So I want to go into a little bit of detail on this. Once you buy it, it's always active, and you are immune to the staggered condition. If you become prone, you can make a rouse check and ignore it. That's pretty interesting. I love the fact that it says there's no cost, because there are specific things that you can do without the cost, but there is still that 1 rouse check cost if you do become prone. Interesting. Make sure you read the fine print on these contracts, laddies. Level 3, Unyielding. Through sheer grit and determination, you have learned how to use the blood to drive through physical and emotional exhaustion against all odds. This is a very interesting power, and I also like the fact that Fortitude seems to be, not only is it just massively useful, it's incredibly easy. It's one of those disciplines that just, here's what you got, and it doesn't come with like a whole laundry list of things attached to it. And Unyielding is definitely a good example of that. The cost is free. The system states, once purchased, this power is always active. You are immune to the weakened condition, and the duration is passive. So you're always just immune to the weakened condition. The further up you go in Fortitude, you could just be like, strike it off, I'm not gonna suffer from any of these conditions. And that's kind of just a brilliant way of handling it, instead of just going, oh, you get to pare down damage, or you just get more health levels. This shows a great use of fortitude in the Mind's Eye Theater setting without it just being a repetitive rehash. And I like that. Level 4, Aegis. You have taught your blood to spring to life at will, fortifying your skin and lessening the damage of an impact. Aegis is just one of those powers that it's always been terrifying to know that a kindred has it, and the fact that this is a level 4 and not a level 5 like it has been most of the time is just nuts. There is actually mythology wrapped around the name of Aegis, which I'm sure there is for other powers as well, but the head of Medusa, which is said to be able to turn things to stone, was put on a shield or a chest plate, depending on which story you're reading, and it was called Aegis. That's where that comes from. So the cost for Aegis is 1 rouse check, which is nuts, considering like just everything that's in my head about what Aegis used to be. The system states once per turn, you may reduce 1 source of aggravated damage to normal damage. This cannot be used to reduce damage from sunlight. That's not too damn shabby. The duration is a scene. That's not too damn shabby. Being able to just go, I'm not going to take that bite as aggravated damage. I'm not going to take that fire as aggravated damage. The various things that can cause aggravated damage other than sunlight can just be taken as normal damage. And that is quite useful. It's a lot different from what Aegis has been in the past, but I do like what it says and how it is used here. Level 4, Adaptability. Your blood has made your body adaptable to defend against the multitude of hazards, including the weapons of your enemies. This is a fun one, because it's something that steps out standard ways that Fortitude have been used in LARP in the past. The cost is 1 rouse check. The system states, once activated, you gain the benefits of both ballistic and deflecting protective gear qualities. This benefit does not stack if you're wearing actual gear that conveys that benefits. In addition, when activated, you may choose 1 perilous environmental circumstance, such as extreme cold, heat, not fire, or deep water pressure. You are protected from this type of environmental hazard for the duration of this power. You may wear other types of armor as normal, but can only benefit from the same gear quality once. The duration is the scene. So this is just a neat one. I do want to point out that the ballistic and deflecting protective gear qualities are for melee and brawl, not for ranged weapons. That is explicitly stated in the system. But I really like the fact that it goes into being able to basically ignore a perilous environmental circumstance at your choice. This makes me think of like the various gangrel bloodlines that we've seen out there, like the Noaods, who are always in extreme cold, or the Mariners, who are always in the extreme depths of the ocean. It's just a very interesting use of fortitude, and I think that it's very fun, especially in a descriptive manner. Level 5, Flesh of Marble. You have learned to make your skin strong enough to withstand otherwise crippling blows. Bullets glance off and claws meet rock-hard resistance. Where others might fall, you stay standing. Flesh of Marble. Oh, God. This used to be an Elder level power, but now it's the level 5, which does make a lot of sense. They did take a lot of things from earlier editions and kind of revamped them, so to speak, to make them fit in V5. And Flesh of Marble is definitely one of those. The cost is 2 rouse checks. And the system states you may activate Flesh of Marble at any time, including in reaction to an incoming attack. For the duration of the scene, the maximum damage that you can take from any attack or explosion is 1, regardless of whether it is normal or aggravated damage. You take 1 damage per round for ongoing area effect, like standing in a fiery inferno. This power has no effect against sunlight, and the duration is 1 scene. It's simple, but it's so good. The idea that, like, you can activate this anytime, first off. You get that, it breaks a rule, actually, as you needing to activate it on your turn and stuff. You can activate this even if there's an incoming attack. And the fact that it lasts a scene is also great for what it is. But the maximum damage that you can take from any attack or explosion, it explicitly states or explosion, is 1, regardless of whether it is a normal or aggravated, which means it does not stop you from taking aggravated damage. But it does stop you from being able to take extra damage from people who crit against you, because you can crit in Mind's Eye Theater. If you throw a rock, paper, scissors challenge, if you throw a combat challenge and somebody hits you, and you threw paper and they threw scissors, outright winning, and you check your attributes to see who has more. If they have more, you take an extra damage. This stops that from happening. In a system where the most of the time in combat, the idea is for the damage to health ratio to be a 1-for-1, this is a remarkably useful discipline. Level 5. Personal Armor. Those who dare try to hit you feel some of that force redirected back at them. Personal armor is just fun, and I love that description also. Like, if they dare to hit you, they're gonna feel it. The cost is 2 rouse checks, which seems kind of normal for level 5s when it comes to fortitude, at least. The system states, you may activate personal armor at any time, including in reaction to an incoming attack. For the remainder of the scene, when you are struck by a brawl or melee attack, your attacker suffers 1 damage of the same type that they dealt you. Reflect this damage before applying any other fortitude powers that may reduce or change the type of damage you receive. The duration is 1 scene. Personal armor is absolutely fun. I absolutely love the concept of you hit me, you take damage. You hit me with ag, I have a power that's going to make that ag into superficial. Enjoy your ag. That's just a lot of power, and it really does take into consideration of sitting down and planning out what you think is the best subset of powers. What powers are going to play well against each other? And fortitude is definitely one of those disciplines where you want to consider where you're going with it. So, fortitude. Fortitude is a great power. It's used by a good number of clans, and it's coveted by the others. I think that the way that it is used in Vampire the Masquerade, Mind's Eye Theater, Laws of the Night, 5th edition, all the titles, is great. As somebody who is actively storytelling a monthly game, seeing these disciplines in action really is kind of a highlight for me. I like to be able to accept that challenge of it's time for me to give this cinematic description to everybody who's involved in a combat. Not bring people out of game, but drag them deeper in it when it's time to start throwing chops. And fortitude is definitely no exception on the cinematic qualities that this discipline has. So we've just covered a discipline in level by level, and this is everything that is found in Laws of the Night. So as other books come out, those disciplines will be found in the other playlists for those other books. But I do want to remind you that the reason why we are doing this is a quick check reference. If you need to find something or have somebody else basically speaking to help you grasp what they're talking about with these powers, because it can be a lot of information. Keep in mind that there are time codes in the description of this video so that you can get to the specific information that you need for the individual discipline. I am Voivode Maquette. This is Our World of Darkness, and thank you for joining me into this deep dive, level by level look in a Mind's Eye Theater Vampire the Masquerade Laws of the Night discipline. Good evening.